We're going. Good morning, hello, and welcome to the Networking Partner Spotlight. I'm Jimmy Curtin, your host. I'm CEO and founder of Next Level Sales Performance. We help companies accelerate their sales revenue and move to the next level. So today I'd like to introduce my guest. My guest today is Alan Cooper, and he is CEO and founder of a company called Cooper Brand Code. And with that, I'm going to ask Alan to talk a little bit about himself and his company, his background, and we'll go from there. So Alan.
Hey, good morning, Jimmy. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate the time and the opportunity to talk. The Cooper Brand Code is a brand strategy firm, basically at its essence. And we help companies to unlock their brand potential. Ultimately, that's what we do. Really, I think sometimes companies don't realize their full potential and they're not getting full credit for what they have to offer the marketplace. And so from a marketing standpoint, we get in there, spend the time to understand what those nuances are and how to best communicate to the marketplace and to the prospects that they're dealing with, what they're all about, how they can help other businesses. And so that's what we do.
Super, super. Well, let me ask you, in business, how do you define integrity?
It's a great question, and something I think that's ever evolving in business. But if you can show up and give it your all with full grit and determination and transparency for your client to help them to solve their problems, I think that ultimately for me is what integrity is all about in business. If I show up half-baked or halfway, that's not integrity. I'm getting paid for my services. So if I show up with that grit and determination to help solve their problem, then we all win. And I think it's the right thing to do for business.
Well said. Well said. So tell me a little bit, what is the value proposition of what your company sells?
Yeah, I mean, when we boil it down, we talk about strategy first. And what that means is, when I say strategy first, I think about the client and how much they've got riding on this. From a communication standpoint, if we come to the table with creative first, or if we come to the table with a pretty ad or a pretty photo and a great headline that doesn't solve the problem because we didn't do the upfront thinking, then we failed our client. And so strategy first matters because you've got too much riding on this as a company.
That's a great answer. So tell me, what do you consider the sweet spot for your business?
Yeah, really small to medium-sized businesses. So much of it is whether or not they have an appreciation for the power of marketing. They don't necessarily have to know how to execute or to develop the strategy for that matter, but do they have an appreciation? Do they understand the strength of it and what it can do for them? And then we can help them get to the point of being able to solve problems from a marketing standpoint, from a connection with customer standpoint. Ultimately, that's really what's key. So if they have an appreciation for the power of marketing, those are the people that I want to be working with. Size-wise, again, it's small to medium, and I've worked with larger companies as well. It just depends on what their needs are.
Great, great. So in prospecting, because we all have to prospect, right?
Yeah.
What's your favorite business tool to use when it comes to prospecting?
Jimmy, I like to keep it really simple. I use HubSpot, CRM, and Outlook, my calendar, and my email. Those are my basic tools. I have other tools. I use LinkedIn, of course, very powerful tool. But when it comes down to my day-to-day, what keeps me on track, those things keep me in line. Being able to dictate the conversations that I've had after I've had them. HubSpot is a great source for that. And then ultimately, just paying attention to my calendar and following it religiously is really important to me.
Great, great. So we all know that top of the mind is that's always been an advertising term, right? But it is important that we are top of the mind with our clients and our prospects. So what's your favorite method or methods to actually stay top of the mind?
I kind of group that into just one header, thoughtful follow-up. And what I mean by that is I know what my prospects after several touches, I know what they're interested in. I know what makes them tick. I'm starting to learn that anyway. And so information and articles that they might be interested in that they can use in their business, that's a great way to touch base. And it's genuine and earnest, frankly. Even if I'm not signed on as their preferred marketing team, helping them is the right thing to do. So providing them with trend information, providing them with, articles or videos, infographics that can help them do their business, and doing that on a fairly regular basis. That's a great way to stay top of mind.
Super. So how do you know when it's time to actually do a close with a sale?
It's interesting. When the tone changes a little bit and they start asking me more questions than I'm asking them, that's when I know there's a pretty good chance we're going to be working together. So at that stage, I start to shift my tone a bit, but ultimately, they're asking me more questions than I'm asking them.
Super. So last question.
I think I learned that from you, Jimmy.
Well, thank you. So last question. So what's your best advice for a company actually closing more business?
I think it's ultimately about having a real conversation. Learning the craft of listening is something that, early on in my career, I'll tell you, I did not have that down. So I've worked on that. And ultimately that can lead to a really good conversation, which allows for a lot of information that's coming to the table that, nuances that if you're really listening and really paying attention, can help you to close more business because you're seeing opportunities, and you're hearing about ways that you can potentially help that prospect and ultimately turn them into a client. If you're not listening well and you're not having a good conversation, you're going to miss out on those opportunities. And sometimes silence is your friend. Listen, pause, let them continue the conversation. Let them, elaborate on the topic at hand, and you'll be amazed at how many opportunities can fall out of just having a real conversation.
Exactly. Yeah, that's tremendous advice. Very good. Alan, we appreciate you being with us today and all the advice that you've given us, and good luck with things in the future. And we're hoping that business here in Texas opens up soon so we can all get out and see our clients face to face, but certainly some value here in using Zoom Info. So appreciate your time.
Well, I appreciate your time. And Jimmy, I thank you for all the advice you've given me over the years. It's been super helpful.
Thank you, Alan.